July 17, 1978 marks the beginning of the rule of Yemen's iconic late leader Ali Abdullah Saleh. Houthis destroy more than 170 houses in Sana'a. Residents of the interim capital Aden call on local authority to improve public services. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shaz Abdelbay. July 17, 1978 was not a normal day. It has seen the arrival of Yemen's iconic late leader Ali Abdullah Saleh and witnessed the birth of a nation in North Yemen. Since day one, the late President Saleh had proven that the state is not a tribe, but rather an institution owned by the people. This report has more details. A human rights center revealed that more than 22,000 civilians have been injured and killed in Taiz since 2015. The center outlined that the Houthi militia had killed more than 4,000 civilians and injured about 18,000 others. Also, they said that these injuries included women and children in the city. The report also pointed out that thousands of Houthi-laid mines claimed the lives of about 800 civilians, including 38 children and 23 women. July 17, 1978 was not a normal day. It has seen the arrival of Yemen's iconic late leader Ali Abdullah Saleh and witnessed the birth of a nation in North Yemen. Since day one, the late President Saleh had proven that the state is not a tribe, but rather an institution owned by the people. This report has more details.
July 17, 1978 is the anniversary of a birth of a nation and the true beginning of the march of building and moving from internal conflicts to unity, security, and stability. The date is a defining moment in the history of Yemen, with the late leader Ali Abdullah Saleh assuming the reins of presidency after being elected by the people in the first democratic elections that Yemen witnessed in its history. The elections came after the reluctance of the civil and military leaders to assume the helm of power amid serious security conditions following the assassination of two presidents and the coup against two others in a closed period. The political vacuum led to the pushing of the course of the situation to the peak of tension in a difficult period that needed a leader to save the country and the people from the breakpoint. Late leader Ali Abdullah Saleh was able to transfer Yemen, that was haunted by poverty, ignorance, disease, and underdevelopment, into a country of work, construction, and political, economic, social transformations. 3 decades of the rule of the late President Ali Abdullah Saleh turned Yemen into a country that impresses everyone, and the system of democracy and political pluralism has been established. The 17th of July will remain an eternal day in Yemeni history, for a true state for the people, in which Yemen is lived 3 decades of security, stability, and historical achievements.
Local residents and political figures conducted a protest in Taiz. Demonstrators denounced the continuous siege imposed on the Houthis on the city for more than 8 years. They called on the international community to pressure the Houthis to open roads and expressed refusal to use Taiz for political blackmail. Informed sources in Sana'a said that the rebel militia continued a campaign to demolish dozens of homes and lands belonging to people in the city. Such acts have caused widespread resentment among local people who appeal to the International Rights Organization to protect them from the Houthi oppression. This report has more details.
Distressed Yemeni residents in Sana'a have urgently appealed for an end to the Houthi militia's aggressive campaign of demolishing and confiscating dozens of houses and properties in recent days. The ongoing demolition and land seizure are part of the militia's strategy to assert full control over vast territories in areas including Al-Ara and Darwan, as well as other areas in Hamdan district, the second largest district in the northwestern outskirts of Sana'a. Locals said that they have been suffering for years from the oppression and brutality of the group and its leaders, and their attempt in various ways to rob lands and properties by force. Through its public works office in Hamdan district, the Houthi group continued its campaign to destroy dozens of houses and lands, under the pretext of removing encroachments and violations. Human rights sources stated that the group brought 5 bulldozers, dozens of security personnel and gunmen in the first 2 days of its campaign in order to demolish 170 houses. The sources pointed out that dozens of citizens in those areas complained about the continued militia attacks against their lands and properties. The insurgents justified targeting citizens' property on the outskirts of Sana'a by preserving public areas and removing illegal constructions. The sources confirmed that this comes from the group's plan to illegally acquire the remaining land areas in Hamdan, intending to establish a training camp. It is not the first time that the group has launched a campaign targeting the houses and lands of citizens. A few months ago, the Houthis launched a series of similar campaigns through the Public Works Office in Hamdan, destroying and confiscating more than 17 fences surrounding locals' lands in about 7 houses.
طفلة أصيبت بسوء تغذية من صغرها. عندما أحس بإصابة ابني بسوء تغذية هذا يشعرني بالقلق. أحيانا فعلا أضطر إلى بيع بعض الأشياء من داخل البيت من أجل توفير الصحة لبنتي.
اضطريت إنني أبيع كل حاجة من معي ذهباتي بيت عشان أولادي يما مرض ويما عالجته وعشان ما أكل إحنا وعشان كل حاجة.
زادت حالات سوء التغذية بسبب عدم توفر الأمن الغذائي. نتمنى من برنامج الغذاء العالمي الاستمرار في مثل هذه البرامج، وخصوصا تفعيل برنامج الغذاء التكميلي الوقائي الذي هو بواسطته نستطيع أن نتغلب على حالات سوء التغذية والقضاء على هذا المرض في المجتمع.
عندما تلقيت بعض المساعدات التغذية يعني تحسنت نوعا ما، تحسنت حالتي برضه مع تحسن صحة ابنتي.
A security force seized a shipment of weapons at the western entrance of Aden. A security source stated that the shipment was hidden under sand on board a heavy transport truck. The source added that those involved in the smuggling of the shipment are 2 elements who came from the Houthi-controlled areas. Dozens of social figures and citizens organized a protest to demand the departure of the governor of Abyan. The protesters also raised banners calling for the urgent solutions to the collapse of the currency, providing services, improving electricity, and stopping corruption. They also vowed to escalate their protests in the coming days if the government did not respond to their demands. After a week of protests over deteriorating services and collapsing currency, residents in Aden continue to demand the local authorities to improve public services. This report has more details.
Despite the return of relative calm to the streets of the interim capital Aden following widespread service protests, its citizens are still calling for the stability of public services. The deterioration of the electricity service, the deterioration of the national currency, and the rise in prices are some problems that have affected the citizens of Aden in the midst of a hot summer in the interim capital and the absence of effective government solutions.
نقول إن دور السلطة المحلية دور إيجابي وجميل ولكن
The local authority is performing a positive role in the governorate, but they gave a lot of promises. Until now, they didn't keep any of it. They left the citizens questioning everything around, holding the local authority responsible for all the suffering. Citizens have demanded the basic rights throughout the past years, but no one is meeting their needs, which forced them to go out on protests, asking for their rights. rights.
Human rights activists saw that the government's weak interventions and the absence of the state and its institutions exacerbated the suffering of people in Aden, leaving them to face their fate alone.
تعزيز الخدمات يكون بالجانب المادي.
The upgrading of services needs proper funding, and this issue belongs to the central bank. However, the central bank doesn't issue financial reports to show us how much was spent on electricity and other services. We are getting lost and no one understands what's going on. We are demanding transparency, sincerity and justice.
الخدمات ليست جيدة في عدن. الأوضاع زادت عن سوء.
Services are not good in Aden. The situation is getting worse day after day. There is no electricity, water or other basic services. We are witnessing several power outages. People go stay in the open and the government is not doing anything about it. They should find a solution as citizens are struggling to survive.
For many years, Aden has been suffering under the scourge of a lack of services, but it seems that the patience of the citizens there has run out, unless the state intervenes and its institutions return to carry out their duties as they should.
Coming next in the news. A recent report reveals that the Houthis' ban on vaccinations caused the spread of diseases in areas under their control. Welcome back. Massam project managed to clear more than 1,000 explosive devices in the first half of this July. This brings the total amount that the project was able to clear since the beginning of the project, or from the period between June 2018 and this July, to more than 400,000 mines. An economic center reported that the Houthi militia imposes additional fees on trucks loaded with goods coming from government-held areas. The Studies and Economic Media Center said that the Houthi group imposed an additional fees of 400,000 riyals on each truck loaded with goods coming from government-controlled areas. According to the center, these fees are about 18 times compared to the fees imposed by the government. Informed sources in Hodeidah and Sana'a said that the Houthis keep targeting the owners of power plants. According to the sources, the group forced the owners to pay fines between $10,000 and $45,000. Such measures reflect the looting and corruption policies that the rebel militia adopt in the areas under their control. This report has more details.
The Houthis are targeting electric power plant owners in Yemen. They have referred 112 facilities in its areas of control to the Public Prosecution Office, with the group imposing fines for violations ranging from $10,000 to $45,000. They have also launched field abuse campaigns against station owners, leading to the closure of 234 stations out of 400. The Houthi Ministry of Electricity in Sana'a has reported that the militia has referred about 225 commercial electrical facilities out of 400 to the Public Prosecution Office. The militias have also carried out a campaign targeting arbitrarily and closing 6 commercial stations in the 2nd and 3rd regions of Sana'a under the pretext that their owners did not adhere to established pricing and cancelled the monthly subscription. Workers at stations targeted by the Houthis have pointed out that the militias intensified their field campaigns against the stations and their owners in Sana'a and its environs, despite most of them adhering to the Houthis' instructions. In its campaigns, the Houthis excluded merchants loyal to them, who had established dozens of stations. The Houthis' actions have sparked widespread protests and calls for the government to take actions against the Houthis.
The Social Impact Monitoring Project said that the steady outbreak of diseases and epidemics in the areas controlled by the Houthi militia is a result of the Houthi decision to ban vaccines. This report has more details.
The Social Impact Monitoring Project has found that the increase in diseases in areas controlled by Houthi militia is a direct result of low levels of immunity among children due to low immunization coverage and reluctance to use vaccines. The report confirmed that Houthi leaders are referring to inaccurate research and studies, proving that vaccinations will lead to death, not immediately, but after a while. Misconceptions and rumors circulated on media platforms are raising fear and suspicion. Since 2021, polio has spread in Yemen, with over 228 cases as of May 2023, with 86% from areas under the Houthi militia. The report also confirmed that there were over 22,000 measles cases in 2022, including 161 deaths. In the first quarter of 2023, over 13,000 measles cases, 8,800 cases of dengue fever, and 20,080 suspected cholera cases were recorded. Various factors contributed to the low uptake of vaccines, including access to misleading information, lack of confidence in health facilities and humanitarian organizations, political polarization, and the absence of awareness campaigns. The report indicated that the Houthi leaders' refusal of vaccines is indirect or semi-public, with indirect hindrances from the Houthi leaders and the Minister of Health, denying responsibility for the people who take vaccines. Misinformation opens the door to the spread of viruses and other diseases, potentially increasing the risk of disease, weakening the immune system, and potentially leading to death.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. July 17, 1978 marks the beginning of the rule of Yemen's iconic late leader Ali Abdullah Saleh. Houthis destroy more than 170 houses in Sana'a. Residents of the interim capital Aden call on local authority to improve public services. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.